Curry, he's cooking with some hot grease right now.
Carmelo Anthony is off to a red-hot start.
We've seen that movie before. Steph Curry with another three.
It's laughable right now what he's doing.
Curry, why not for three? Bingo! Making it rain in New York.
With 3 on the shot clock, Anthony knocks it down. That gives him 50 points.
There is nothing quite like the bucket binge, a night when a scorer gets so hot and circumstances lead him to enough shots to put up 30, then 40, and finally 50 points, with fans around the world buzzing more and more with each basket. But we've been treated to fewer and fewer 50-point nights in recent years. In fact, so far this decade, there have been, on average, under 3 a season, fewer than in any previous decade, and fewer than half we saw in the 2000s. First of all, just how hard is it to score 50 points in a 48-minute NBA game?
It's extremely hard, Matt, because I've never done it. I only did 41 twice, so I'm 9 short. And the first thing that comes to mind when you're watching these videos, a guy like Michael Jordan, he lived at the free throw line. He was shooting 10, 15 free throws, sometimes 20 free throws in the game. Same thing Allen Iverson, putting pressure on the defense, getting in the lane, added a few three-pointers here and there. But for me, Brent, it's about getting to the free throw line, how you get to 50 quicker.
I'm with 3D, Matt. I mean, it is just extremely difficult. Although I did see a guy in Rashard Lewis when we started the season, Seattle against the Clippers, and I was playing for the Sonics, back-to-back 50-point performances for him. But last night, Dominique Wilkins was in here, and I asked Dominique, because I knew we were going to talk about this today, I said, you had 7 career 50-point games, Dominique. Why are there not more? He goes, because it's hard. It's hard to do.
That's why.
Yeah.
It's hard. Well, we have some other maybe slightly deeper theories on where they've gone, including a decrease in minutes, the legalization and proliferation of zones, less isolation basketball, and the use of all that data now available to coaches. Let's start with playing time. No one the past season plus has averaged 40 minutes a game. How big a factor is just being on the floor?
Well, you have to be on the floor at least somewhere between 35 and 40 minutes, they say, because you have to get enough touches. Now, if you mix in the free throw line, you mix in a few threes, most importantly, you got to have the hot hand. You don't want to shoot 30 and 40, 50 times. You want to be 15 for 17 or 18 for 21. That lets you know you're on fire that night.
So the less time you're on the floor, the harder it is to score.
Yes,
Is that what you're saying, 3D?
Yeah,
I want to clarify that. It's
yes.
very hard to score
It's very
from
hard
the
sitting
bench.
over there shaking the pom-pom.
I agree with that, 100%.
That may not have been that deep a theory, as it turns out. Well, the league legalized the zone for the 01-02 season. Today, every team uses it at least a little bit at some point. What impact has the defensive zone had on players zoning in potentially on 50?
That is a huge factor, Matt, because I remember in the 90s, mostly in the 80s, but in the 90s, you were able to isolate 2 guys on one side of the floor, and it was really impossible to stop one guy. But now, if you watch modern-day zones, and we have an example of this, as the Dallas Mavericks have employed under Rick Carlisle, zone quite a bit. So here's a possession where you can tell it's zoned immediately. James Harden gives up the ball, and Calderon, if he's playing man-to-man, he's going with James Harden. He passes him off to Samuel Dallenberg here and lets him go through the lane and shifts over to Dwight Howard so that he's in an area, obviously, hence the name, a zone. So the ball moves around. You can see guys pointing. Look at Calderon. I got this one. You cover over there. Look at Dirk Nowitzki in the corner pointing out, okay, who's got up there? I got up there. Hand is up. Lots of communication because you want to get into those areas and make sure you cover guys. So for scorers to try to get 50 points against a zone, and James Harden, who is the Houston Rockets' best scorer, ends up with a decent shot here as he has a 7'1" guy closing out. It's hard to find your primary scorer in the zone. You're going to take a three-point shot more than likely, but to find just that guy every time in the zone defense, it's a difficult thing to do, and some teams will like to deploy it for 3-4 minutes of a game, and if that player's not getting the ball, no points.
Also takes a little time to work the ball around and work out how to play against that zone. Isolation plays are also being used less and less. Just 8% of offensive plays this season so far are ISO looks. That's a number that keeps going down. How significant a factor is that?
That's huge because in isolation, obviously that man can take his man anytime he wants to. But half-court defenses have gotten better, especially when you're sitting here watching Indiana play. You know if a guy's hot, you know that second and third defender's going to be there and help him out.
But also in those isolation plays, 3D, you have the ability to play zone. So the isolations now aren't really true isolations. You have 2.9 seconds to come for help.
Right.
3D, you mentioned the double team, but you're able to cover more ground, so it's harder for individual scorers who have to get it going to find more consistent quality shots, even though they're playing one-on-one basketball. It truly never is just one-on-one.
Finally, there is nearly unlimited data out there to scout and strategize player tendencies. Does that mean it's just plain harder for an offensive player to get the shot he wants?
I agree with the fact that the research out there tells coaches where it is the players on the floor who are very effective scorer are the best at what they do in which zone. And if you're telling your best defender or a combination of defenders that, look, in this game, we are taking away James Harden's left hand. We're not allowing him to get to the basket on the left side. Easier said than done. He's still going to get to the left. But to be able to plant ideas in the heads of your primary defenders to go up against the best offensive guys, 3D, I think the analytics plays into that quite a bit.
They play in a great deal, unless you got a guy like Spicy Curry or Kevin Durant, two guys that can score from the three-point line, the free throw line, the ball's in their hands a lot. And if you foul them too much, they can get 50 at the free throw line.
Oh, it'll happen again.
Yes,
it's only a matter of time.
The last point, Matt, is that teams now are not just one-man teams. It's not just Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. It's not just Kobe Bryant and the teams that he played with when Shaq left the squad and he was just dominating the ball. These are super teams, the way we call it the Big Three, or guys have help. Russell Westbrook plays with Kevin Durant.
Right.
The three guys in Miami, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron. If those guys were by themselves, they're getting 50 points.
Right.
But the fact that they have help and that they have other stars around them, it takes away their reasons for going out and putting up 50.
Still nothing like one of those nights.
It teaches them how to say
nothing quite
50,
like
by the way.
Say 50.
50.
There you go.